Hey y'all, welcome to Soccer for Us. I am Bart and Caleb, and today we're talking about a very young and domestic-based roster for camp this month, and what could look like a lot of key pieces for the future of the U.S. men's national team. To talk about this December camp roster, I am bringing back on Caleb Cook, the man behind U.S. Soccer Corner on Twitter. Make sure to give him a follow at USMNT Corner. Caleb, how you doing today? We got this like random drop in the middle of the day, so now we're talking about it.
Oh man, nothing better than talking about U.S. men's national team roster news. Taking a lunch from work, you gotta love it.
Now, I have to say before we get into this, this is not a very controversial roster, and if you're going to get worked up about a December cupcake playing a Bosnia team that's not even bringing their full, like, there's nothing to get really worked up about on this roster. Do you agree?
I certainly agree, but we are talking about a particular corner of Twitter that is everything but rational.
I will say, I say I don't have a whole lot. I have one issue, and we'll talk to that when we get to that point. But
I know exactly what it is.
Yeah, actually, this one might surprise you. But yeah, there's a couple issues, but it does come down to the fact that I think this roster is hopefully going to give a lot of new players and younger players introduction to the Berhalter system. I think it also gives some good just time with the team and time playing to some senior players who are now in their off season, which I think is another kind of key component to this of having both the December and January camp. Is our MLS guys, some of their seasons ended in October, some of them ended 2 days ago, but for the most part this is about just getting these guys who are older and already established just playing while there's a break.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if anything is just being excited about the kids that are getting an opportunity that wouldn't get an opportunity for major tournaments or when I say major, anything that remotely matters. I feel like a lot of these kids wouldn't be in the running or the consideration for those. So yeah, I'm excited to see a lot of these kids.
Yeah, I think that's the takeaway that I have, is I'm excited to see the kids. I do have one question before we start. This is the second year in a row we've had a December camp like this. Obviously, last year was because of COVID. It was the first time we could actually get people together. It's going to be a similarly weak-ish opponent. Bosnia is not bringing their first team. We called the January domestic camp Cupcake. What do we call this one?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the January camp gets a lot of flack because obviously everybody knows what's going to happen. This one, I get kind of excited about it because it generally does provide opportunities for kids that you don't get to see, and it's always exciting. Just like we had the couple games from the U.S. women's national team not too long ago. That I think it was last week, right? That
I know it was both long ago and not.
Yeah,
long
God.
ago.
I mean, well, it's been crazy for me. You just moved in October, so I'm kind of all over the place. But we got to see people that we don't normally get to see, and that's exciting, especially for nerds like us who actually take the time to discuss this kind of thing.
Right. I am suggesting the name Camp Cake Pop.
My kids would love that name.
So that's exactly why. What do you get your kids when you go to Starbucks, right? You get a little cake pop and they're happy. So that's just why I'm saying
every time we walk into Target, Dad, can we get a cake pop? Of course, yes, and then I get one too because they're delicious.
Right. So that's my proposed name for this Camp Cake Pop. But there are 26 guys called into camp. It will convene on Monday, December 6th, so very quick. And we'll end with a friendly against Bosnia and Herzegovina on Saturday, December 18th. Again, Bosnia is not bringing a very strong team. It's been rumored they're basically bringing the U21 team. That's fine, whatever. This is just about playing soccer at this point. The three goalkeepers at this camp: John Poolskamp from Sporting Kansas City, Gabriel Slonina from Chicago Fire, and Matt Turner from New England Revolution. Poolskamp, whatever. I don't really have any strong feelings about him. I'm just really excited that Gaga Slonina will be in a senior men's national team camp. And I don't need to see Matt Turner play. I give Gaga like the whole 90 minutes, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it might be just kind of getting him into camp, continuing work, keeping them in shape. They're out of the playoffs. But you're right. You don't need to see him. We know what he gives you, and it'd be a great opportunity for one of those two guys to step up. I mean, I'm with you. I don't think it'd be Pulskamp, but either way, there's really zero reason to put Turner out there.
Yeah, that's just my only take on this. I'm sure Matt Turner will start for reasons that only Berhalter knows, but I would love to see Gaga play. So defenders, George Bello from Atlanta United, Justin Che from FC Dallas, Jonathan Gomez from Louisville City, and Kobe Henry from Orange County SC, a couple of USL guys. Henry Kessler from New England, Brooks Lennon from Atlanta, Aaron Long from New York Red Bulls, Kevin Paredes from DC, Brian Reynolds from Roma, a weird inclusion, Austin Trusty from Colorado, and Walker Zimmerman from Nashville. Now, before we get to kind of the younger guys, I'm going to say again that, one, I don't think Aaron Long's playing in this. It's probably similar to what he had the last time where it's just coming in rehab. I also don't care to see Walker Zimmerman because we know what he provides. I do think that we'll get the Walker will probably play and like Justin Che will play next to him type of thing, which whatever, if that's the case, then I also kind of understand. But I don't need Walker Zimmerman to like shine in this camp. This is not his camp to shine. So that's just kind of the old guys that they're good. They're here. Fine. Whatever. This is just for them to get training.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the U.S. Soccer podcast with Bobby Warshaw, Berhalter mentioned that there's several guys that they're going to be brought in just to continue playing, just to continue training, because you've got World Cup qualifiers in January, but these guys haven't played. Zimmerman's out, Turner's out. There's several guys that are a part of the main squad that aren't going to be playing anything competitive for 2.5 months. So it's to get them some time, right? And then he said it's also to get looks at younger kids that don't have opportunities very often. And I think that's why you've got Zimmerman included. I'm with you. I don't think you need to see him. He'll probably play for those reasons. But I'm excited about those young guys. Gomez and Henry are two exciting players. Gomez, but you mentioned both from the USL. Gomez going to, I believe it's Real Sociedad in January, and then Kobe Henry. I'll be honest, I didn't know a ton about him. I did a little bit of research, and from what I see, I'm excited about the kid. He's tall, big, athletic, but he looks really good with his feet. I think he plays mostly on the right side. He's right-footed, but he looks very comfortable with his left. And that's all you can ask for is just continuing to have athletic defenders coming up the ranks that are comfortable with their feet. And I think you're going to see that as development, continues to improve in the United States. You're not going to have just, the ball-winning center back that only can kick it long. Those days are gone.
Yeah, I'm with you. Really, this camp is to see how Justin Che has progressed this season through the FC Dallas, their MLS season, to see how he's grown as a player and to see where he fits in right now in the U.S. men's national team. I'm not saying that he's a starter or he's on the depth chart, but now is the time to start figuring out what his future is with the U.S. men's national team, because he is exactly what you just kind of said. He's athletic. He can play with the ball at his feet, and he has a future. So I think Justin Che, this is kind of his time to shine. Speaking to Gomez and Kobe Henry, love to see some USL guys get a look finally. I think that's something that we, as USL grows and as their academy systems grow, we're going to see a lot more of that in camps like these. Oh, yeah. And USL is a great place for young guys to play a lot of minutes. I mean, Gomez and Henry played almost every match, every minute for their respective clubs this year. Gomez went to a conference semifinal, or conference final, I should say. Keep those guys around. Also, Jonathan Gomez, we need to cap him at least so that he can get some taste of U.S. men's national team experience, because he hasn't played for Mexico yet. So that would be a nice little one-up. It won't cap time. We need to say that. It will not. It doesn't affect his actual future.
Right.
But it would be nice to get him into the game and have him play with the U.S. crest on his chest.
I agree. I think it was a very necessary call-up, regardless of whether he's going to play or not, just to get him involved, like you said. And then, with Henry, kid's 17 years old, and they just won the USL, I believe, and he played a integral part of that. I mean, that you read some articles, his coaches were talking about how it was hard to keep him out. I mean, he's a 17-year-old kid. He's playing on a championship team. There's obviously talent there, and he's still pushing for starting time. So, I mean, that shows a lot, and I think he was rewarded with this call-up. I'm excited to see these guys. I wish they would just sit there and broadcast and stream training.
I know.
I'd be just as interested in that.
I almost don't care about the game as much as I care about the training to see where everyone goes. I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but just to point out that Brooks Lennon got called up. I think he's been pretty darn good for Atlanta United since he came to the Five Stripes, and I think that this is deserved. He's had a really good season. I don't think he's pushing for any time at that right back position. No. I'm sorry, but this is good to have. Good for him. Congratulations. It's his first senior camp since 2018, which was one of the weird, lost year under Saracen. And that was when he was a youth national teamer. This is his. He hasn't been inside of a U.S. camp at all since 2019. That was with the U23. So good to see him back. Also interested that Austin Trusty gets the call up from Colorado. I think this is one of those Donovan Pines types call-ups where not quite sure what we have in this guy, but he's been a pretty good player for an MLS club, and his MLS club happened to win their conference this year. Why not call him in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you.
Midfielders, Kellen Acosta from Colorado, Cole Bassett from Colorado, Johnny Cardoso from Internacional, Christian Roldan from Seattle, and Jackson Ewell from San Jose, because why not give him more minutes at the position that he can't even find to be a backup or third string? This is my only critique of this roster. Why Christian Roldan, whatever. I'm over trying to argue about him because everyone knows who my feelings are. Why are we giving a camp spot, more minutes, more evaluation time to Jackson Ewell when he is clearly not good enough? That's my only issue. We know he's not good enough. This isn't a fact-finding mission.
Right, exactly.
The facts have shown us he's not good enough.
And that's where I'm at. Maybe you bring him in so he can help with Cardoso and help train him. I don't know. I don't understand that one. With the Roldan, he's the same thing as Turner and Zimmerman. He is clearly a part of Berhalter's plans for January, which, it is what it is at this point. We know it's going to happen. I think that's why he's in the camp. But yeah, at
least Roldan does things in World Cup. He has played. Ewell lost his job at the Nations League, and he got an obligatory call up back in September and didn't even I think make some action.
Yeah, he's shown time and time again that he's not there. He can't do it. But I mean, here he is. I don't know.
The new guy in this crew. This is another note that I do want to say. These midfielders, all five. There's only 5 midfielders. I guess that's fine, whatever. But it seems a little small. All 5 of them, except for 4 of the 5, have appeared in camp before. The only new guy is Cole Bassett. I just feel like, again, that's a waste of a camp of why don't you call in some younger guys? There were some. I mean, I'm glad that Johnny Cardoso is getting another callback because I think that it was a little. He hasn't looked great for the U.S. national team, but he also is still figuring himself out. He's still young. Maybe this is a camp it comes together for him.
Yeah.
But, you could have brought in a guy and I don't think he's super awesome, don't get me wrong, but Andres Perea from Orlando City, who featured at the U23 tournament Olympic qualifying earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
He at least gives you a different look than Jackson Ewell, right? And that's just kind of where I go for me is Jackson Ewell is not at all the type of player who can factor into the U.S. men's national team right now because of the position he plays. He's not going to be challenging for an 8. And the 6th position, he's not good enough at what he does to sit back there and do stuff like that, especially now when we have a guy like Busio who can do the same thing. So this is I'm mostly concerned or just questioning the midfield. All these guys. Glad Cole Bassett has been there. I've been wanting to see him in a U.S. men's shirt for a while, but everyone else I'm just why?
Yeah, I like Cole Bassett. Things I've seen from him in MLS with Johnny Cardoso. I hope he gets a run at the 6. Right, it was kind of unfair to him that he was playing in just a terribly tactically run Olympic qualifying situation. He was playing as an 8, out of position. He looked so lost. So I hope he gets to play his position, which is the 6. And then I'm with you. I'd much rather have seen a Perea for a Yule, just because he does bring a bit more athleticism. Because if you're not going to sit there and spray passes all over the place, because you don't have the time to do that, which is what Yule has shown that he hasn't been able to do, then what else are you bringing? So, I'm just with you. That one's extremely perplexing. But I think also there are 5 midfielders listed, but I think there's some forwards we're going to talk about that would probably be played as an 8, which I don't know. I don't understand why they're listed the way they're listed, but I don't know.
Let's talk about them. Forwards: Taylor Booth from Bayern Munich 2, so their reserve team, their youth team. Caden Clark from New York Red Bulls. Cade Cowell from San Jose. Jesus Ferreira from FC Dallas. Jordan Morris from Seattle. Ricardo Pepe from Dallas. And Giassi Zardes from Columbus. Now, Caden Clark is one of those guys who I think is more fit as a number 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. He plays in a Red Bull system, so he should be used to covering a lot of ground, both defensively and on the attacking side for Red Bulls in that number 8 position. I am most excited to see Caden Clark on the field because he was very good in the U20 Revelations Cup, as was Cade Cowell. But I think Caden Clark, who is off to Leipzig soon, he's a guy that we talk about the future of the men's national team. He can very much be a factor in that sooner rather than even later. He's a guy who could be in Qatar 2022, maybe. He's at least a factor for 2026 if he continues to progress.
Yeah, I mean, if he moves over to Germany and continues the ascension that he's been on, it'd be hard to argue against that. I mean, I would say he's probably got the highest ceiling out of this entire roster, or one of the highest ceilings at least. I'm very excited to see him, and I agree. I don't know why he's listed as a forward, but you'd think to see him more in the central midfield for sure.
I'd like to see him more centrally. I'm afraid that this means he'll be playing as a winger, and I just don't know if that's his best spot. But maybe he is a little bit like the Brendan Aronson role, where
or like Arena.
He's a good press. Yeah, right. Gio Reyna, Brendan Aronson both play centrally for their club, but because of their skill sets and their defensive work, they are okay on the wing because they're good pressing and winning 1v1 battles there, or at least not afraid to go into those 1v1 battles. Other forwards, Taylor Booth is a guy who has been, a darling of a lot of USMNT fans on Twitter and the youth, the guys who, the U.S. men's national team fans who really focus on youth development. Taylor Booth has been a guy that's always been brought up. Good to get him into camp. Clearly with Bayern Munich too, it's not like he's losing valuable minutes. Right. Great. Bring him in. I don't really have anything other to say about him, though. I don't have any hot takes on Taylor Booth.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's in the Bayern system for a reason. There's a lot to be excited about that, but I mean, it's not like we've seen amazing things where we're just salivating to see him on the field. I think he's a good, promising player, and I'm excited to see him in camp.
We're gonna have Ricardo Pepe, who I think is right now the best number 9 we have. That doesn't mean that is a permanent or fixed position, because we still don't have a striker who has truly won the job. I think the one who's closest to it is Ricardo Pepe. But Cade Cowell, maybe he's a guy who could do it. He plays a little bit more of a winger at San Jose, but he's a big body.
Depends on how you want to play and how you want to use him. He's a big kid. There's a lot of strength, a lot of speed on this roster, a lot to like. Especially if you get like a Brian Reynolds out there on the right wing back, going up and down those flanks. A lot of speed, a lot of size. It's gonna be exciting to see how they're played. Speaking of forwards, do you have any snubs on this roster? Because for me,
who did you want to see?
I would have liked to see Hoppy called in.
Yeah, he's
not getting a lot of time.
I think he might be injured, which is why he's not.
Is he really?
Yeah,
okay.
I think he might be injured.
Okay.
This is what I've heard, but we also don't know because Mallorca just hasn't played him in general.
Exactly.
So I'm with you. If he's not injured, then it would have been nice to maybe get him a call up. But at the same time, he is still in season for Mallorca.
But
weird.
If he's not playing, and that's why I wanted to see him. Like if he's not playing,
I agree.
Bring him in, see what's going on. Maybe it could have got him going. Who knows?
Yeah. The one, it's not even a snub because Berhalter even addressed it, and we kind of knew this. The one guy that I really would have liked to have seen who could have factored in as a forward attacking player or a midfielder would have been Georgie Mihailovich, who had a phenomenal season for Montreal. And is also Montreal's key set piece taker, and we need a person like that.
Absolutely.
Which is the only reason I can even consider why Jackson Hill was brought into this camp. But Georgie is going to Bologna like today, I think maybe. So that's why he's not in this camp. He's trying to go to Europe, which, dude, go.
Absolutely.
Because apparently that will mean that he's really good.
I'm happy for him.
Yeah. He had a phenomenal season with Montreal.
He really did.
A very, very good season for a Montreal team that didn't have a whole lot else that was that positive, but he was good. I really would like to see him in camp because I think he offers more than Leggett or Roldan going forward. He's much better at progressing the ball forward. And like I said, he takes free kicks regularly for his club, which seems to be the problem we have across the board for U.S. men's national team games. I don't really have anything else to say about the forwards other than I'm glad Jordan Morris is back. And I'll probably get criticized. I'll probably get criticized or called out. I still think that Jordan Morris is possibly number 2 on a depth chart at either winger position. I'm sorry. The man balls out and produces for the U.S. men's national team. I love what we have with our wingers, but if Gio Reyna is not really fit to go in January, I'm calling up Jordan Morris as a guy who can start on the wing. If not, be a backup. You still have 3 games. You're going to have to rotate a little bit, and our wingers do so much work that being able to bring Jordan on for 30 minutes in a game or start him in the game, I'm not worried. Jordan Morris loves to play for the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, first of all, I'm glad he's healthy. I'm glad he's back. But yeah, if nothing else, he's going to push, competition-wise, the guys in front of him. But I'm with you. I think he's got a role to play.
That's where I think it is, right? So, like, we have these conversations with depth chart, and like, there are people that you need on the depth chart that are like the barometer or the measuring stick, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan Morris is that measuring stick of like, this is the guy that you have to beat out in order to be on this roster, right? Similar to the way that Aaron Long was before he got injured, where it's like Aaron Long is starting because no one else has proved to be as reliable or whatever as he was. And people have. That's awesome. Jordan Morris kind of serves that position for me as the midfield position. And to be quite honest, Leggett had served that role for a while, and I think we've clearly seen that there are people who are better than him. Any other thoughts about specific player positions or anything like that?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't think there's a ton to complain about. I think we complained about the one thing, right? But
yeah, and I think that is the only complaint because this roster is just a bunch the guys who are available to play right now.
Right.
Do you want to talk about some guys who aren't here? Let's talk about Daryl DK and Miles Robinson, who Gregg Berhalter both said they're banged up. They've played a lot. They need a rest. And I think that's okay because I think that there's no reason why they're not going to be part of January camp.
Completely agree. Yeah.
Although Miles might not be part of January camp because maybe he gets sold wishing he's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like he is. But
that is a double-edged sword. I'm super excited to see him move to Europe and challenge himself. But as an Atlanta fan, I'm extremely sad. But
that's very speculative because all the reporting I've seen is that there's no real offer for him. But whatever.
Which is crazy to me. But
I have thoughts that I can't. Not fit for this particular podcast. But anyway, I think that that's the other reason. If you're like, why didn't this guy get called in? It may be because they just finished an MLS season and they're tired.
There are lots of reasons to not be called into the December camp.
And it's not, like you're not here at Camp Cake Pop is okay. Anyone that you like, who's the guy that stands out as you're like most excited to see?
Oh man. Probably Caden Clark. There's several, but it's Caden Clark for me.
I think it's because Caden's also the one most likely to actually start. Cade Cowell may start, but also might be just a good way for Ricardo Pepe to get a lot of minutes and score some goals. That's kind of a good thing. Cade might start on the wing. We're not quite sure where he's going to fit in the Berhalter, what he sees him as. But I think Caden Clark is the one who's most likely to like actually start and play significant minutes. I think Justin Shea might as well. I think that's one that I'm not necessarily excited to see because it's not a. I don't think center back is a position where we're like desperate for a guy to come in and change the way I look at the depth chart. But just excited to see Justin Shea because I think he is a promising center back.
There's a lot of defenders on the roster. Only, I would assume that we're going to play the same way as the senior team, that Berhalter wants to play the same way as the senior team. So you've got to think he'd prefer a 4-3-3, 2 center backs. I feel like one of them is going to be Zimmerman to continue his playing. The left center back, could go a couple different ways. I would like to see Shea. I haven't seen him play left center back. I think he's played a lot of right back.
The other thing, I don't know
for Dallas.
Yeah, I also am not sure where he fits in.
Right. Well, and then you've got Ryan Reynolds. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of different combinations that you could go with on that back line. We're gonna have to wait and see on that. I don't think anybody can really project that one.
Also excited for Jonathan Gomez. I don't know how much he'll play. Again, I would like for him to play at least.
I hope he plays the whole time.
30 minutes. I know, right? That would be awesome. But then at the same time, I kind of would like to see Bello get some time because he needs a little bit more of a confidence boost in the US.
I agree. I'd like to see maybe just a split. Bello get the first half and Gomez get the second half, or vice versa, whatever. But I definitely want to see both.
Yeah, I would like to see both. But I'm not like super excited for Gomez just because as much as the left back position isn't strong, I think the depth chart is very clear, at least who the starter is. So I think everyone's battling for that backup position, and maybe Gomez could do that. That'd be awesome. He's about to move to Real Sociedad, so he has a chance to prove himself at higher competition than Louisville City. But right now, it's hard for me to say that a guy who starts in USL, although he's very good, is above either Sam Vimes or George Bello. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Agreed.
But he's about to move, so that could all. Yeah, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying that he hasn't been able to prove himself at even comparable levels of competition.
Right. Well, now he gets the opportunity.
And now he does. Being able to watch him hopefully play at Real Sociedad will be a treat. Okay, last question before we really wrap up this conversation. Are camps like these good? And I think this is a more theoretical question, but I have a kind of a yes and no answer. Yes, in the sense that I think these camps are good to just get guys who are out of season playing. That is a good thing. I think they're good when used to bring in young talent to introduce them to the system, to the USMNT program in a very low stakes, the training camp will be intense, but the game itself is like super, nothing matters. But I think this is where when we talk about an MLS bias on the U.S. men's national team, this is where the only legitimate criticism or point of contention comes, is that you have now 2 domestic-based camps for majority MLS guys who probably aren't the same level as guys who are playing in Europe. Specifically talking about a guy like Julian Green or Luca Della Torre or guys like that, right? You're getting guys who played similar positions, more time in front of Berhalter in these camps. That's not a bad thing, but it does give Berhalter more data to look at and give him just, when you see something more often, you're more likely to prefer it. Does that make sense?
So basically, if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that it not purposefully, but it almost kind of buries a CCB, a De La Torre, a Julian Green, because they're not being seen.
Basically, yeah, that's basically. I mean, obviously they're being seen because they're playing, but so are these guys playing in MLS.
Well,
so
in front of Berhalter,
it's different when you get them in camp and have them training. Yeah,
I can see that.
So I think that's my only one pause for these camps. But otherwise, I don't see the downside of getting players who aren't currently being able to train to come into a camp like this, because MLS has a very long off season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can see that. I think the good outweighs the bad here, just because it does give the opportunity to see a lot of young kids that you normally wouldn't see. I think De La Torre and Green, those types of players, the opportunities are there. I think it's just been weird last couple, 16, 18 months where normal circumstances, we probably would have seen them once or twice, but because of first promotion and dilatory moving and with travel restrictions and just all the stuff that makes it just a little more difficult. I feel like under normal circumstances, we would have seen them at least once or twice, but I don't know. Like I said, I feel like these camps, for the most part, are a good thing.
It's kind of where I am, where it's just I think they have to be used in the right manner. So this is where I do like that. This is a very young group. You have 12 uncapped players.
Exactly.
Even some of the guys who have caps are like 2. Like George Bello has 5 caps. He's still a very young player.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Cardoso with only 2 caps. Like these are guys who are very still young. We're still learning about them. That is what I prefer of this camp. Like the 12 uncapped players. I think we have 4 from the Revelations Cup. Those things are Siri's talking to me because I said something that sounded like Siri apparently. Though that's what I want this camp for. Does that make sense? I want it for the younger.
I think if he was calling in guys that have multiple caps or veterans, to me it's just wasted.
Yeah. And I think we could see a guy like Kellen Acosta play a majority of these minutes because, one, I don't think he brought anyone else who I'd like to see. And that's okay. Again, if Walker Zimmerman plays because he's starting next to Justin Shea or he's starting next to Kobe Henry, fine. Or if he's starting next to Henry Kessler, fine. Like if that's the move because you need a solid veteran guy there, okay, fine. These are not the camps for these guys to shine.
Yeah, he's going to use it. They're 100% going to play. He's going to use it to keep them warm and give them game minutes. Even though, like you said, it's a glorified scrimmage, but it is a game versus guys that aren't your teammates.
Yep. Yeah.
He's going to have them in there. They are 100% going to start because Zimmerman, Turner, Acosta, like those guys, Pepe, Zardes, even they're going to be a part of the World Cup qualifying roster for the January, February window. And he wants to keep them warm. He wants to keep them engaged. And then the younger guys, I hope they have an opportunity to play and we get to see them. But the most important thing is integrating them into the group. And then, we've got finally hired some coaches for our youth teams now. And so there's actually at least a place for them to, go and compete, but to get their feet wet, I think it's a good thing. Yep.
It feels like we have a full program again, and that's good.
Yes.
Last question before we get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Is Ashley Hatch the truth?
It's hard to argue against it.
2 goals in 2 games. So
in what, 4 minutes?
Right.
Yeah,
those were fun friendlies, though, right? The U.S. women playing Australia. Like it was nice to see.
It's good to see some new faces.
New faces against teams that aren't.
It's good competition.
We're not beating, against teams that are decent competition. Australia's a good team. They provided a good test.
Absolutely.
That was funny. Despite having to watch, I didn't wake up at 4 a.m. to watch.
I was just about to say, I mean, for the Olympics, absolutely. I did it every single game, but this wasn't the Olympics. This is a friendly. Nope. Come on. I'm not doing that. You kidding me?
I watched it the first 2 hours at work the next day. It was great.
There you go.
All right. Well, Caleb, thanks for joining me. I think you're going to join me for our roundtable discussion we will have after the scrimmage, or not scrimmage, the sprint.
Call it a scrimmage. It's what it is.
Feels like it is. We will talk a little bit about the actual game. Probably not a whole lot because it's just you're not going to get anything from this. But we are going to talk about kind of the state of the U.S. men's national team and the just general how do we evaluate the first half of qualifying. We'll have Caleb and a couple others come back onto the show to talk about what it all means.
Love it. Can't wait.
Where can the people follow you?
At USMNT Corner and JCalebCook1 on Twitter.
Well, again, thanks, Caleb, for joining me. Thank you all for listening. I am Bart. I'm out.